Hey guys, how you doing? I hope you're having a great holiday season. I've been doing great. My legs are getting a lot stronger. I've been able to do a lot of things I didn't used to be able to do. I've been going up and down the stairs, doing my laundry, changing the trash. Yeah, I can walk really fast without a cane or any assistive device. I've been doing awesome. I was even able to go to an upstairs movie theater last night. What did I see? Well, more on that later. Another thing I've been up to is I've been collecting all kinds of DC related things, comics, live action movies, animated movies, cartoons, books, trade paperbacks, graphic novels, all kinds of DC stuff. I've got the 60s Aquaman cartoon on my TV in my living room as we speak. I also got the 60s and 70s Batman cartoons, the 60s Superman cartoons, lots of Super Friends DVDs, the Green Lantern animated series from the 2000 teens. The DC Superheroes DVD, which was the Justice League segment, which aired as part of the Batman Superman hour. Previously, the Superman Aquaman hour for Adventure, which the Aquaman segment's on my TV right now, and it was Green Lantern, the Atom, the Flash, all that. And then, yeah, some Super Friends DVDs that had a lot of the same characters. And so I did get a few Marvel comics, mostly some Spider-Man annuals. Not the one that had the first appearance of the Sinister Six, but more on that later. Maybe. Maybe. Speaking of Spider-Man, I was so into DC lately, I was like, the Spider-Man trailer the new trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home, which just came out, looks really good. I hope I don't watch it and then get into Spider-Man again and, leave DC behind, because it's so good. So every theater and every showing, every time saw was nearly sold out. But I did manage to order tickets online. I found 3 seats for me and my 2 guests that went with me, and we saw it last night. Without revealing any spoilers, let's just say, holy crap, did I love it. It blew me away. It met my expectations and then some. So, truth be told, I've mentioned this before, I wasn't the biggest fan of Spider-Man Homecoming or Spider-Man Far From Home. I had a lot of issues with those. Mostly, I didn't like young hot Aunt May or scrawny, geeky Flash Thompson, who's more of an academic rival than to Peter than a bully who's a football hero, meathead, athletic jock. I didn't like Ned Leeds being an overweight, geeky outcast too. He's supposed to be a handsome reporter that Peter meets at the Daily Bugle, which now exists. If you saw the post-credit scene in Far From Home, more on that in a second. Then this version of MJ being brooding, mopey, morose, sullen teenager, and then not a bubbly bombshell who has a bad past but doesn't let it get to her. This one doesn't have anything wrong with her life but blames everybody else, it seems like. She was done a lot better Far From Home. She redeemed me. I think that Zendaya did a great job. I like her a lot now. I like her MJ, who's actually Michelle Jones in this universe, not Mary Jane, and more on that in a minute. I'm going to reveal spoilers at the end of this video. But I'm going to give you ample warning before I reveal them. If this video ends up being too long, because I have a lot to say, I might do a two-parter, and then the second video will be the spoiler one, and this will be the spoiler-free one. Because like I've said, I have a lot to say, but I'll give you plenty of warning before you watch the second video, or just the next segment in this same video. I haven't decided yet, depending on the length. Because the really long videos are a pain to upload. But anyway, yeah, I had all these problems. This movie fixed all those problems. The dumb Stark Tech AI suit. Slight spoiler alert, that didn't last long. He went back to the classic red and blue costume that looked more like the one of the comics. Wow. So if you haven't seen the trailer, if you've been avoiding the trailer and avoiding this movie anything about the movie like play, don't watch this video because I'm going to spoil things that were shown in the trailer. But if you're avoiding it that much, you probably aren't watching this video in the first place. Wow. Yeah. This is the best Spider-Man movie I've ever seen. This is the Spider-Man movie I'm waiting for. How did that happen? I didn't care for Homecoming or Far From Home. No Way Home. This is Far From Home, and it was awesome. I didn't care for... I didn't like Spider-Man 3 or Amazing Spider-Man 2 at first. They kind of grew on me over the years. I think they had some redeeming qualities. Bad movies, but slightly underrated. This fixed all those problems, too. This fixed almost every problem I've had with every live-action adaptation of Spider-Man. Whoa. The fact that Uncle Ben doesn't exist in this universe, and he didn't have anybody who he lost that was his fault, and he has to learn from it with his guilt, fixed. Maybe it's Iron Man, maybe it's Tony Stark that died, and he's still remorseful about it. But I'll never tell, or maybe it's somebody else. I don't know, who knows? I'll reveal at the end of the video. But yeah, this was the Spider-Man. This is the ultimate Spider-Man movie. I freaking loved it. Look, Stan Lee autograph. Woohoo! But yeah, so anyway, yeah, if you saw the last movie and saw the post-credit scene, you'll see that Mysterio revealed to everybody the world and to J. Jonah Jameson, who awesomely played by J.K. Simmons, who is the most perfect comic casting ever from the Raimi trilogy. Yeah, him due to Mysterio's video, Mysterio started this awesome comic where he's making all these visions, making these holograms, making Spider-Man think he's hallucinating. One of my favorite story arcs. So Spider-Man. Thanks to Mysterio's video, Spider-Man's been unmasked, like in this comic, and everybody knows who he is. It actually doesn't happen like that, and this is kind of a tease. But in this movie, it does. The whole world knows who he is, and let's just say there's another cameo that I was not expecting. It was a pleasant surprise, and the theater went nuts when he was on there, and I did too. I'm not even going to say how he came into the story until the spoiler part, because that'll give it away. But wow, oh my gosh, that cameo had me just... I was just like, whoa, I was in awe. It was just spectacular. Get it? But yeah, so yeah, if you've seen the trailer, you know that yes, it does have the Sandman from Spider-Man 3, the same version from an alternate universe, thanks to Doctor Strange's spell, trying to make everybody forget who Spider-Man is. It does have the Lizard from Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, the first movie in the second Spider-Man live-action series. It does have Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2 from Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire. And it also has, like in the trailer, the Green Goblin from Spider-Man 1, played again, minor spoiler if you haven't seen the trailer or read the cast, played by Willem Dafoe, who's returning. And they even possibly reference the death of Gwen Stacy from the second series of films, just like in what happened the previous comic to this one. Yeah, Green Goblin's back, and they have a reference to Gwen Stacy, maybe more. Yeah, minor spoiler. Don't watch this video if you don't want minor spoilers. If you're avoiding the trailers and the cast list, don't watch this video. All kinds of awesome references. They even may have referenced the black-suited Spider-Man. This is one of the first appearances of that. A few times, and in really clever ways, too. You know, I thought there was going to be a Hobgoblin reference because Ned Leeds is in the movie, and he turned out to be like a fake Hobgoblin, a pawn of the real Hobgoblin, Roger Kingsley. No, that wasn't a retcon. Ned was the retcon. Roger Sherd, who created the character, wanted it to be Roger Kingsley in the long run, and came out with a 3-issue limited series, Hobgoblin Lives, where they fixed all that, because I didn't like Ned Leeds being him anyway. How the guys overpower him, and also he was already dead, and it's like, it's anticlimactic. But anyway, yeah, I thought they were going to reference Hobgoblin. They had an opportunity to, but I'll get to that later. And they may or may not have, minor spoiler, reference Venom. Maybe. I'll never tell. I mean, you already know that it's opened up an alternate universe where Venom existed from Spider-Man 3, so I won't tell what kind of reference until the end. And yes, Electro is also in it, who, of course, was in Doc Ock, who, of course, was in Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Andrew Garfield. And the Sinister Six may have been referenced as well. But yeah, wow, so many clever in-jokes, references, cameos, surprises. It was just absolutely spectacular. It did everything I wanted plus more. It fixed all the problems of every version, like I said. Of course, there's even a reference to Into the Spider-Verse because of the whole multiverse thing, opening up other realities, and there might have been a reference to Miles Morales, maybe. So, wow, it's like they took every Spider-Man movie and combined them all together and just made this awesome nostalgia fest that was just a gift, a real treat. I'm very pleased to be a Spider-Man fan right now. I was disgusted when I first saw Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and even Homecoming a little bit. I was like almost ashamed to be a Spider-Man fan. I'd read my comics and I'd be like, oh, man. But now couldn't be happy to be a Spider-Man fan because this movie ruled! I freaking loved it. Wow. Okay, Alright, before we get into spoiler territory, okay, yeah, I also saw Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I loved it too. That was also a nostalgia fest full of all kinds of breathtaking, mind-blowing treats and Easter eggs for Ghostbusters fans. But I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan, but I'm an even bigger Spidey fan. And this movie, I'm sorry to say, blew that one out of the water. I still enjoyed it a whole lot, but this was even better. I'm a bigger Spider-Man fan than I'm Ghostbusters, like I said. But yeah, wow, did it fix so many problems. Oh my gosh, yeah, Spider-Man using too much Star Trek AI suit, fixed. This version of MJ being whiny and brooding and not true to her real counterpart, fixed times two. Even Flash Thompson felt more like the character. You know, he's always like hated Peter, but looked up to Spider-Man. You know, which I always thought was very, very interesting because he didn't know who he was. And in this one, he wants to be Peter's best friend because everybody knows who he is. And they became friends in the comics later too. It's like, holy crap! Even Flash Thompson felt right. And Aunt May, yeah, she's still young and attractive, but they kind of fixed that too, because the thing is, the other versions, the other movie versions that I think are arguably closer to the comics, and except for the fact that the romance is the main focus, it takes center stage. It could be, there's some themes like that in the comics too, but I never cared about that growing up. I just wanted to see the good versus evil, hero fights the villain thing. I didn't care about all the girlfriends and stuff as much, even though it was good when it made some serious drama. That was good, but like, you know, other than that, the other versions were closer to the comics. I know people have argued with me on that, but they were, and now they exist. They still exist. So it's like, okay, there's all kinds of different dimensions where there's different versions of Spider-Man. So that fixes that. These versions still exist in this new continuity. They're canon. They haven't been erased from the continuity, which is awesome. So that fixes any problems I would have had. It's like, oh, okay, there's a more accurate Spider-Man that exists, and this is just another version from another universe who uses Stark tech to save the day, and it was kind of Iron Man's like lackey. And the Homecoming was like an Iron Man spinoff. Even the villains, the Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, and Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio, who were both done very well. Even they had more ties to Iron Man and Stark and all that, the Avengers, than they did Spider-Man. But this actually felt like a self-contained Spider-Man story. This was a Spider-Man movie with Spider-Man characters and story arcs adapted from the comics. All kinds of them. All my favorite mixed into one, but without feeling overwhelming and crowded and overly complicated like Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2, which they made a funny reference to both of those too. Plenty of them. Wow. Like, holy crap. You know... Wow. This actually felt like a Spider-Man movie, like I said. And yeah, there is so many villains, it does feel like almost like they have the Sinister Six. I'm going to talk about some things that didn't happen that I thought would when I get to the spoiler section. I'm trying to think if there's any other spoiler reviews. Another problem I had was a lot of the villains, minor spoiler, and the other movies and the other versions before Homecoming and before the MCU took over. And yeah, another problem I had with the other Spider-Man movies is that it felt like there's too many references to the MCU, and it was all like a reaction. It was all like the aftermath of something that happened in another Marvel movie. This one fixed that too, because it's totally a Spider-Man movie. Doctor Strange is in it, but Spider-Man doesn't save the day using his magic powers and stuff. He briefly has his ring and opens some portals, but doesn't last long, thankfully. And yes, Doc Ock does make a reference to the fact that Spider-Man has those leg-looking things coming out, and I always thought he'd say, I can do that too, or Spider-Man would say, I can do that too, but he says something else about it, and I was like, wow, I expected that. There's a lot of things I wanted to happen that did, and it gave me chills. Okay, so yeah, what was the other, where was I going? I keep getting off track, because I'm so excited! What was the other, what was I saying? I'm sorry. There was, yeah, so many problems, got fixed. The villains were like, you know, had a sympathetic, tragic backstory, and so they kind of fixed that too. There may or may not have been some redemption involved with one or more of the characters, but I'll never tell. Shh. And also, you know, the fact that some of them were killed, like Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Elektra, they were killed in the other versions. I was worried. I was like, how's this going to work? They addressed that too, and it's in a very clever way. All right, so yeah. I highly recommend that you go see it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Now I'm going to reveal some spoilers, okay? You have been warned. If you have not seen the movie, please stop this video now. Turn it off, okay? Major spoilers ahead. I'm going to ruin the whole movie if you watch this part, okay? You have been warned. So if you're still watching and you haven't seen the movie, tisk tisk. Ready? Okay, spoilers start now. Yes, the rumors are true. Major spoilers. Okay, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield from the Raimi films and the Mark Webb films are in this movie, and as soon as they got introduced, my theater, which was packed, almost every showing was sold out, but I managed to get tickets somehow, went nuts! Oh my gosh, as did I. I was just like, whoa! You know, and then, holy crap, they did it in such a clever way. It made perfect sense. I love the chemistry between the three. It was almost like, you know, I didn't like how Iron Man was kind of his mentor in Homecoming. I didn't like how Nick Fury was his mentor in Far From Home. I was like, he doesn't need a mentor. That's his Uncle Ben. And, and this, and then, but Doctor Strange wasn't really his mentor this time. He just helped him. He just had he was in. I like when there's other characters in the comics as long as it's not all about them. Batman discovered the Flash in Justice League, but the Flash didn't save the day using batarangs and back smoke pellets. But this movie felt like a Spider-Man movie. He saved the day using his webs and his super strength and arachnid powers and spider sense and all that. But anyway, it was a Spider-Man movie and the best one ever. It was epic. But anyway, sorry, I keep getting on tangents. You get off topic because I'm just so pumped right now. I'm just thrilled. I saw it last night in the theater. I'm still geeking out about it. That's all I've thought about and all I've talked about with all my friends, who most of them have seen it too. They were also blown away. Don't watch this part if you haven't seen it. But yeah, they're both in it. I love that they're the wise mentors. They're the older, more experienced Spider-Man who also lost somebody close to them, and it was their fault. I'm not going to say who this Spider-Man loses, who's close to him, but he loses somebody, and it's his fault. He blames himself, just like with Uncle Ben, just like with Gwen Stacy. And they're kind of the mentors. I think it works. It works perfectly. Even the Stark tech, that I hated that he used with that fancy suit with the nanotechnology kind of comes into play with his fight with Dr. Octopus. It's done a really clever way. It's like, holy crap. So many clever references. And major spoiler, Daredevil is also in it, played by Charlie Cox from the TV show. And boy, did I lose my mind. I didn't know that. That was a pleasant surprise, He says, They don't want to sue Spider-Man for the damages and blah, 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 murdering Mysterio. And they say, you're going to need a lawyer. And I was like, uh-oh. And then he gets a lawyer. He got a cane. He's got the red sunglasses. He's blind. Somebody throws something through the window. He catches it before Spider-Man does with his spider sense and accelerated reflexes. And he's like, how'd you do that? I'm just a really good lawyer. That's hilarious. Another problem I had with the Raimi trilogy was that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man wasn't witty and funny and enough of a smartass. And this one, he's hilarious. Another problem is fixed. Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 being too convoluted and overly complex with too many characters, they make all kinds of funny references to that. Damn! Aunt May not being an elderly, nurturing woman who depends on Peter and they depend on each other. Well, two versions of that exist in this universe. Not in this universe, but in this continuity, in parallel dimensions. It fixes everything. Wow, they even make a funny scene where Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man are in awe of the Toby Peters organic web shooters, one of the very few changes to the comics that I actually like. If he has spider powers, he should do everything an arachnid can do. A radioactive spider. That's what people think of when they think of spiders. Web. Ask any little kid what's Spider-Man's superpowers? Web. He should be able to produce his own web, and I like it. It makes more sense. They're just in all. They're like, how does that work? We have to make our own web shooters that are mechanical and stuff. And he's like, I just I don't make them. I produce them in my body, and they just gotta come out. He's like, I run out sometimes too, and I'm having anxiety or something, and they're like, oh, okay, and then, they say, can they come out of other parts of your body too? And I knew they were going to say that. Man, did the theater just roar in laughter. Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, he actually wears a purple hood and a greenish costume. He destroys his mask, and he looks more like the comic book character. He doesn't wear a new mask that looks more like the comic, which kind of sucks, But what can you do? They still had enough. It was still very nostalgic and then some. Yeah, he didn't look exactly like this, but yeah, he did have the purple hood and some green on his costume. Now, of course, he had the glider and the pumpkin bombs and the Batwing-looking blade things. But close enough. Yeah, Electro got a new look. Didn't really look any more like the comic version, but yeah, he got a new look. They referenced the crappy mechanical rhino stupid thing they did to Amazing Spider-Man 2. Tobey Maguire mentions the black goo, the symbiote that gave him the black suit in Spider-Man 3, and and he's like, he's like, yeah, it's an alien suit. And, Tom Holland's like, I fought an alien. He's purple and made the whole world disappear. And I thought it'd be funny if Tobey said, well, mine made me do awkward dances and made me angst-ridden. He's like, oh, yeah, because my alien made half the universe disappear. That would have been funny. And then, Andrew Garfield's like, I want to fight an alien. And he's like, I'm so lame. They're like, no, you're amazing. You're amazing. Because his movie was Amazing Spider-Man. And then when they all assign numbers just to get them mixed up, he said, Tom Holland Spider-Man says, I'll be Spider-Man 1, since this is my universe. Then, Tobey Maguire says, I'll be Spider-Man 2, which many consider the best movie in his series. And then Andrew Garfield still thinks, oh, I'm lame, so I'll pick the last one. I'm Spider-Man 3. Oh, I'm Spider-Man 3. Because everybody dislikes Spider-Man 3. That blows my mind. Okay, more major spoilers ahead. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man saves this version of MJ when she falls from the tower, caused by the Green Goblin, just like he did the Gwen Stacy in Andrew's Spider-Man's universe. And he's like got tears in his eyes. He's like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Yeah, are you?" He righted the wrong. He saved Spider-Man's girlfriend. That gave me chills, and the theater went nuts. Green Goblin is telling Peter, I can help save the other supervillains so they don't have to die when they get out of the universe. I'm something of a scientist myself, just like he said in the first Spider-Man movie, directed by Sam Raimi. Yeah, also Doctor Strange is in this movie, and Sam Raimi is going to be directing the next Doctor Strange movie. So this whole thing has come full circle in a nice, neatly wrapped package of nostalgic Spider-Man awesomeness. And now I'm going to talk about, there's not really, there's a few flaws, a few issues I'm not going to get into, but they're very minor. The good more than outweighs the bad. Then, as I said, all the problems I had with every version got annihilated here. There's a few missed opportunities, I thought, but there was enough clever things. Like, there's a part where Ned's using Doctor Strange's cape and his ring and using his powers. I was expecting the Green Goblin to say, oh, son, you got potential. Maybe you could join me and be my partner in crime. You could be like another goblin, a hobgoblin or something. That would have been funny. Also, when Toby Spider-Man is, I hope I don't leave anything out. I'm going to write more in the description if I remember something I forgot. So read the description after this video. Toby Peter says, when he was saying, oh yeah, I fought alien black goo, and then it would have been funny if he said, everybody thinks it's really complicated when I tell that story, and then Andrew Peter could have said, people say the same thing about when I fought the robotic Russian terrorist in a rhino machine. That would have been pretty funny. There's another really hilarious part where Ned said, do you have a best friend? Asking Toby. He's like, yeah, he died, sadly. And Ned just shocked and horrified. The look on his face is priceless. He was actually really, really funny in this movie. I thought he was kind of annoying in Homecoming, except for the porn line. That was funny. But he was really funny in this one. Everybody was. Everybody was enjoyable. Everybody nailed their parts. There was plenty of dramatic, serious moments. There was enough humor. There's more than enough humor and levity, too. But really comedic situations that just had me in stitches. But yeah, serious dark themes like in the comics, Spider-Man's guilt and remorse, making him stronger, all these themes into one movie of Sinister Six references, black-suited Spider-Man references, which more on later. I'll give you another warning before that part. Damn. Toby mentions about the symbiote, and then the new Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, he had a black suit in the second film, some kind of stealth ninja nighttime thing, night monkey. And then in this one, his suit, he accidentally bleaches it or uses a chemical on it, something and it turns black. I'm just like, ha! And then there's another reference to which I'll get to in a minute. I'll give you a warning before that because it's mind blowing. It's breathtaking. And then I thought it'd been funny if he was talking about his best friend Harry, and then then Green Goblin would have been there somehow, somewhere, and would have said, oh yeah, my son Harry, yeah, he became the Green Goblin, and then. Andrew says, or Toby says, he became the Green Goblin after you, and then Andrew says, yeah, that's right, and he's still alive, and Toby's like, my version died, I don't know, something like that, and then, of course, Ned's the new friend, and, he might also be Hobgoblin someday, possibly, probably not in this continuity, hopefully not, because I think that'd be too much, but I would like to see the Hobgoblin eventually, maybe somebody will discover something Norman left behind, and so it's so awesome, so clever. What else? JJ, okay, so Matt Gargan, who becomes a Scorpion, had an appearance in Homecoming talking with the Vulture. I was hoping that Michael Keaton returns as the Vulture in this movie so there would be 6 villains instead of 5, the Sinister Six. But then I was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gargan will return to be the Scorpion and he'll be the 6th. The original 6 was Doc Ock, Electro, Mysterio, Kraven the Hunter, Vulture, and Sandman. So 3 of them were in this. I think there's other versions like in this comic I showed you a minute ago with the Revenge of the Sinister Six, Return, whatever it was. I think Hobgoblin becomes. I think there's other versions like in the '90s cartoon and Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon through 2008. There's There's like, I think there's been times where Rhino's been in it. There's been times maybe the Lizard's been in it. So, so the Lizard's in this, played by Kurt Connors, with Rhys Ifans returning as him. Yeah, and Jamie Foxx was Electro. Willem Dafoe was Green Goblin. Alfred Molina was Doc Ock. Too much. Thomas Haden Church was Sandman. Who spent a lot of time in his like more sandy form, but they explain that too, kinda. But anyway, yeah, it'd been funny if they would have had that, more references to that, and then also, references to Gwen Stacy dying, the new MJ being saved by Andrew Garfield. It's like, that's like clever times 3. So many moments that just were mind-blowing. I can't believe this is the ultimate Spider-Man movie. There's so many of my friends were saying, oh, Homecoming was a Spider-Man movie I was waiting for. I'm just kind of like, I don't like this new one. How could this ever be the Spider-Man movie I was waiting for? Well, this one definitely was, and then some. It delivered my expectations plus more. It was so good. Wow, I know I say that about a lot of movies, but like usually the novelty wears off after a while. I'm kind of like, it wasn't that great. This one's never going to. I can't wait to watch it again. I can't wait till the Blu-ray comes out. I'm probably going to get another video about it when I think of more awesome stuff to talk about. Okay, so here's the big thing. I'm just going to talk about the post-credit scene. Please turn the video off if you don't want this spoiled. If you made it this far without seeing the movie, I'm very disappointed. But, I'm more disappointed in you than I was with Spider-Man 3 all those years ago. It's just so cool because, like, I saw all these movies in theaters when they were brand new, and I feel like I grew up with these characters, and, like, I've just seen them evolve, and this movie's a sequel to all of them. It's a sequel to the Raimi trilogy. It's similar to the two Mark Webb amazing films. It references Into the Spider-Verse, all the best versions. It is kind of funny how, like, the best villains, like, Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Sandman, Lizard, and Electro are in this, but there's not really much mention of the hairy Green Goblin from Spider-Man 3 or Amazing Spider-Man 2. But I guess you could argue both of them knew. Yeah. And Eddie Brock Venom's not in it either. He died, but so did some of the others. And like he knew who Spider-Man was, as did the two versions of the Harry Goblin, Harry Osborn Goblin, James Franco, and then Dane DeHaan. The Rhino, I guess, never found us Spider-Man's identity, so it wouldn't make sense for him to be here. But why weren't they here? But it's okay, because they weren't done very well. I don't really need to see Topher Grace or Dane DeHaan return. James Franco was good, but there's some problems with that too. So, how convenient how all the best villains that were done the best happened to show up in this universe, but the ones that were poorly done weren't. But it's okay. It's fine. This movie did everything and then some. Oh yeah, J. Jonah Jameson hires a spy, somebody to spy on Peter, and I thought he was going to hire Matt Gargan like he did in the comics. He hires him to spy on him to find his identity. Then he funds an experiment that gives Matt Gargan his suit and powers, becomes a Scorpion, and then of course there's the whole thing like, what have I done? I've created a monster. Spider-Man's the only thing that can stop him. All that whole thing. It was done in the comics. It was done in the '90s series. A little differently, but still, I was hoping they'd go that way. Then we had Matt Gargan, the sixth villain, who's part of the Sinister Six, or the Vulture, or Chameleon, Kraven the Hunter, or somebody, anybody. But wow, maybe Hobgoblin, maybe this. I don't know, but yeah, that probably would have been overkill. Might have been too much. I'm also glad they didn't have billions of or maybe hundreds of different Spider-Mans from other universes appearing at the end. That would have been too much. That would have been too overcrowded. I'm glad I didn't have Spider-Ham, the pig, Peter Porker show up, or Spider-Gwen. There was a reference to Miles Morales, like I said, which was cool. But I'm glad there wasn't the comic version and the different cartoons versions and the live action version with Nicholas Hammond from the 60s or 70s, whatever. 70s, I guess. That would have been too much. That would have been too much. That would have been too overwhelming. Because it was just nice. It was just the right amount of complicated. But it was easy to follow and it was awesome. Okay, so like I said earlier, I'm getting off track again. The main thing, the post-credit scene, you've been warned. Major spoilers. Turn the video off now. Tom Hardy's Venom from the Sony films, Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage, which I haven't seen yet. I'm going to get it for Christmas probably, along with all kinds of DC comics and more DC stuff. I had enough money left over to get everybody's presents, by the way. I still had enough money. I made sure I did. I calculated it, so I bought all my DC-related stuff, and I had enough to get... I bought everybody else's presents first, so I used the money left over to get all the DC stuff. Now I'm broke. But anyway... Sorry. Maybe it should be called Tangent's Late Night Spook Show, or Hellhound's Late Night Tangent Show. But anyway, okay, Tom Hardy's Venom is in it, and, then he's in this universe too. Then he disappears. He's talking to the bartender, and he leaves behind a piece of the symbiote. Before he disappears, he says, maybe I should go to New York to see the Spider-Man. So the black symbiote piece knows where Spider-Man is. Whoa, he's going to get the black suit. He almost kind of fought the Sinister Six, and now he's going to get the black suit. Wow! And he already knows about it, too, because Toby told him about it, and he's worn 2 black suits kind of briefly. He's probably going to say, this black suit can't do as many cool things as the Stark Tech one did. Hopefully it's able to mimic his street clothes like it does in the comics, but the Tom Hardy version doesn't, so it probably won't. But whatever, you can't have everything. I would have thought it would have been funny what if this happened? What if when Tom Hardy disappeared, the bartender would have said, oh my gosh, it's happening again, just like Thanos, this Infinity Gauntlet, and then this big muscular tall guy with a blonde buzz cut shows up, and he says, where'd you come from? Who are you? I'm Eddie Brock, I think that guy said his name was Eddie Brock. What guy? He disappeared. What? And then, but he left, he said he was going to go see Spider-Man. Then the true Eddie Brock from this universe says, I hate Spider-Man, slams his fist on the ground as the black symbiote bonds with him. What do you think? I mean, picture that. It might have been a little too much. It's just an idea. It's something I thought would have been funny. It's just an idea I would have had. It's probably for the best they didn't do that. It'd have been too much, because I do want the black symbiote to bond with Spider-Man first, and then have a new version of Eddie Brock closer to the comic and not being a buddy cop thing inspired by Ren and Stimpy. Yeah, because when I think of Venom, I think of Ren and Stimpy. I did like the Venom movie in a lot of ways. It's kind of a guilty pleasure in a way. Venom looked badass and talked badass, even though he didn't have the white spider, but there's a reason for that. But yeah, black suit Spider-Man first, then the true Venom is more like the comic. He's got to hate Spider-Man. We got to see the build-up of that. That's actually one thing that was missing from the comics. We didn't really know who he was. He just showed up and said, oh yeah, here's my backstory. It's like, oh, we didn't get to know him first as a character, as Eddie, before he became Venom with the black symbiote, after Spider-Man wore it and knew all his memories. So, so that'd been better if they did it this way. Hell, even Spider-Man 3, we got to know Topher Grace's wimpy, puny, annoying, pathetic, whiny version. Even that's growing on me a little bit. He does look badass when he does have the full costume. He's not big or muscular enough, but I guess they wanted like a dark mirror image appear. They wanted him to be the same size and all that stuff. And his noises he makes, the teeth, he looks pretty cool. But when the symbiote melts away to reveal his face, he says, do you remember what you did to me? Fighting tears. It's just like, oh. But anyway, maybe they'll have a better Venom someday. We might see the Vulture again. Maybe as part of a new Sinister Six. Who knows? We'll probably see the Scorpion. Hopefully, Kraven the Hunter, Chameleon. Maybe if they do a proper Venom, maybe we'll see another Carnage. I think Willie Harrelson looked fine and seemed intimidating at the post credit scene in the first Venom. I haven't seen Let There Be Carnage yet, so I can't comment. You guys will be the first to know when I do. It might be great. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have high expectations. But it might be good in a different way. I want it to be smarter than the first Venom. I wish it was R-rated with Carnage slicing people in half and eating and ripping their heads off and stuff. But it's fine. You can't have everything. I'm still very, very happy to be a Spider-Man fan right now, and it's all due to this new continuity with the MCU, which I never was a big fan of. How the hell did that happen? This movie just kicked my ass all over the place. Let's see, anything I'm forgetting? Yeah, a few minor, nitpicky, missed opportunities, but there was enough. They didn't want to overdo it, it would have been funny if, they had few more references, but it was enough, maybe they didn't talk about Mary Jane enough, Watson. Kirsten Dunst isn't in it. I thought maybe it would show them back in their own universes with their version of Aunt May and Mary Jane, but they probably already had to pay a big salary to Willem Dafoe and Thomas Haden Church and all them, and maybe even Maguire and Garfield, so, they couldn't get all these actors back. This movie did have a good budget. I've heard a lot of people saying the special effects were bad. I don't know. I think when Dr. Strange was manipulating reality and making the city distorted and stuff, and Spider-Man is fighting him with his webbing, which was really cool, by the way, because he wanted to stop him from preventing the villains from going back, because then they would die, and it was all his fault that a certain character died due to the Green Goblin, just like in the comics with Uncle Ben and Gwen Stacy. Wow. Green Goblin didn't kill Uncle Ben, but you know what I mean. Sandman did in the Raimi trilogy, but they didn't reference that either, but that's okay. No big deal. Kind of like the Joker with Batman in the '89 Tim Burton version with Michael Keaton, who should have returned as the Vulture for this. So many full circles here. But yeah, there could have been like a little more, but like I said, it was plenty. It was more than enough. Um, so yeah, if I think of more things that I might have left out, I've been discussing this with three of my closest friends. One of them know from YouTube, two of them I know in real life. One of them is Dr. Guts, who I did a show with. One of them is Horror Fan 88, who I did a show with. Sean Urchin hasn't seen it yet. My friend Amber, who usually shows up in the live chat and our Morbid Hour streams. Check the last episode out if you haven't already. It's our holiday special. We talked about Christmas horror. It was a lot of fun. We also talked about the band Death. Yeah, they all saw it. We've been discussing it, and we've been talking about these clever things, and it's just a really good time to be a comic book fan right now. I was starting to kind of lose hope because, I haven't seen Shang-Chi yet. I've heard it was good. Dr. Guts told me I should check it out. I probably will. They had a chance to redeem the Mandarin after they screwed it up in Iron Man. Ben Kingsley, awesome. He looks like him, but then he's just a terrorist. And then, he's not even the real Mandarin. He's a pawn. And then Aldrich Killian is the true Mandarin. And then they had a short called Hail to the King. It was in one of the special features of one of the Blu-rays, maybe Thor: The Dark World, I don't know, one of them, one of the Captain America movies, I don't remember. It revealed there's a true Mandarin of the Ten Rings that was based on the new Mandarin stole from, and he's not happy. Then he's gonna be in he's apparently the main villain is Shang-Chi, but it's not the right character. This guy's like the uncle of this character that I never read a comic about or know anything about. I don't think I have any Shang-Chi comics in my collection that I know of, unless he appears as a cameo. I also haven't really watched Captain America I haven't watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Scarlet Witch or any of those shows much. TV shows are overwhelming to me because I'm really behind. And although the new Dexter is awesome, the new Chucky show was pretty good. I didn't like the way it ended, but that's another video. I'm excited for the She-Hulk show though. I'm gonna see that. But anyway, yeah. Okay, so yeah, the Mandarin. He's in this one, but the 10 rings are on his arms instead of his fingers. I always thought this was interesting how each ring gave him a different power. He's not the right person. He's this guy's uncle, and most importantly, he's not going to fire Iron Man because, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Infinity War, if you've been living under a rock, or Iron Man's dead, so Tony Stark's gone, so. But I still might see it. I've heard Abomination was in it from the 2008 Incredible Hulk, so that'd be cool. Maybe there's a reference to the leader. I don't know. I'd love to see the real Mandarin and the leader team up in a movie and fight the Hulk, but I guess not Iron Man since he's gone. But anyway, okay, that's enough tangents. I hope you guys enjoyed my video, the history of all his comic book characters and their adaptions. But really, yeah, just check it out. Check out the Spider-Man No Way Home. If you're a Spider-Man fan, I think you're going to love it. If you don't like the new version of the Spider-Man, I know one of my friends doesn't, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I think you'll be very, very pleased, because this one fixed lots of the problems that all the versions has. The sequel, all of them exist in the same continuity now. I mean, if that's not the greatest thing ever, I don't know what is. This sounds like something I would have made up a fanfic, or like a pipe dream that I had, but it's a reality. And it's amazing. I get it. Amazing. They referenced that too. Alright guys, I've rambled on long enough. Go see Spider-Man No Way Home. I hope you like it as much as I did. I highly recommend it. Even though you shouldn't be watching this video if you made it this far. If you haven't seen it yet and you waited this far, shame on you. But I did warn you. So I hope I didn't ruin it for you. I apologize if I did. You have been warned. You were warned. I'm Hellhound. Thank you for watching my late night spook show, Horror Metal channel. Until next time, later. My spidey sense is tingling about the awesome new movie. Yeah!